Yes, absolutely. I believe this to be true. Yes, words do matter. Words do matter. Of course, right? Of course. This is a very ridiculous question. This is a very ridiculous question. I think there's a fellow. There's a fellow. There's a Leech King fellow that I respect. Popular fellow. Uh, maybe you could say he's bold. Maybe you could say that. Maybe he's quite a bold fellow, right? He's a very bold fellow. I respect a lot of what he says. He's a very attractive fellow. No homo. Um, I respect a lot of what he says, but and like he says a lot of disagreeable things. But for the most part, he seems like the kind of guy I would get along with. He's a very sound fellow. But the one thing he says, the one thing he stands by that I think, it's like if you're smart, if you're a person smart to this extent, if you're as well spoken as you are, and you are able to exercise yourself impressively to such a degree, I find this very difficult. It's like a foible. That's a new word I learned some couple of months ago. Right? It's like a uneccentricity in the in the thought process, or it's like say like this guy, this guy, he's particularly smart, like he's a particularly reliable guy to listen to, but then he says there's like one specific thing, a person may say, a person who you respect, like one specific thing that they may say that doesn't quite match up. It doesn't. It's not quite. It's not quite. It doesn't quite make sense. It's like, why would you think that, right? Like, dude, you're the guy that's flying. That's flying. Freaking rockets to the moon. Such and such. But like, you have this one silly little opinion that I can't believe you actually believe in, right? This is not a reference, right? Okay, well, it's a reference, but the idea is, this fellow that I respect, he believes that words don't matter, right? Let's cut to the meat of things. Let's not digress anymore. Let's not let's get to the point of it, right? It's like, how does a particularly intelligent person come to believe something that someone else maybe even less intelligent will look at and think, hey, that's not quite right? I think that's a very funny thing with human beings, right? It's like, as well, in any case, I believe human beings I think we're monkeys. I think we're animals. It's just that we're very intelligent animals, right? But at the end of the day, we're animals, and we're imperfect in such a way that no matter how smart you are, there's going to be one little retarded thing, one little retarded thing that, or viewpoint that you will hold that doesn't quite match up with everything else. But maybe, maybe, well, clearly there's something I'm not seeing, right? It's like, how does a very reasonable thinking person say such a thing as words don't matter, right? When maybe part of what has made you as successful as you are is your capacity to make use of words, is your ability to attract other people with the charisma of your words, right? Like, how do you say that? Well, I think it's more proper to say that actions speak louder than words, right? This is, famously, this is a common saying, right? This is like a famous saying. It's like, actions speak louder than words. But like, the reason that saying is as valid as it is, it's like it acknowledges that words like that saying acknowledges that there's something about words, right? There's something about words that is crucial, right? It's like people go to protests, people attend entire protests where they get mowed down, they get freaking run down and, shot at because they believe in something and they use words to express that thing, and someone else doesn't like it. It's like people have died over words. It's like, I think I think it seems to me it's a very easy thing to prove that words matter. So I'm trying to see in what way does a word not matter, right? Because I'm thinking it's like, yeah, words, actions speak louder than words, right? Actions speak louder than words, that's for sure. That's for sure. But words matter, right? Take the instance of a name, right? Take the instance of a name. I think there's this idea. I don't know where I got it from. I probably got it from a particularly cool person, a particularly cool individual. Maybe a book. Maybe. I think there's this book by Patrick Rothfuss. I haven't read it. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard good things about it. It's called The Name of the Wind, and I've heard it has a focus on the idea of names, right? The idea of names and words. I heard this somewhere also recently, that words. It's a very cool idea. Words are words are lesser names, perhaps. Something like a word is a lesser name, right? It's like a word used to be a name, but now it's more so. It's more public. It's not as weighty, right? Like a person's name. It's like a name is a word, right? A name means, I would say, think of a name as something like, it's like, okay, these are the primary colors, right? Like a name is like a primary color, right? This is like the most important colors that every other color to come after it. This is, every other color, well, not every other color maybe, but like, the secondary colors derive their powers from the primary, and it's something like that with names and words, right? Like a word is like a secondary name, and often words become names, or words used to be names, but names are very important. It's like you go to a place, and you don't know anyone there, but somehow someone says your name. They're not really calling you, but maybe someone else shares your name, or maybe they didn't really say your name. But maybe you thought they said your name, and they say your name, and you spring up like a freaking dog, right? You spring up your ears, you raise your head, maybe you're sulking, someone calls your name, suddenly you're happy, someone's giving you attention, like that's power right there, right? That's insane. It's like the person isn't even really talking to you, but they call out your name and you raise your head. It's like you don't need to prove. You don't need like that. That's a really good example. But maybe I'm relying too much on names. Maybe actually here's an example. Here's an example for words, right? Here's a very simple example. Right, someone tells you to kill yourself, right? Someone tells you that, and it's like, okay, I can see in which this may not matter, right? It's like, okay, someone. It depends on the context in which you hear that, right? Someone may tell you, to end yourself, right? And maybe like it's like a friend. It's a friend of yours, and it's like a dark humor joke. So like it's not really that serious. But like, imagine a context in which a friend of yours actually tells you to kill yourself and they mean it. Like you'd have to think, it's like, bro, have you gone insane? It's like, well, why would you want that? Well, why would you want me to kill myself? It's like, dude, like I thought we were friends, right? But like, there's also like, there's extreme examples. I mean, that was an extreme example, but there's extreme examples in which, say, you live in a place like Japan, right? And you know, there's this thing such as there's a saying such as death before dishonor, right? That you will, that when your emperor loses the war, you're going to walk up to the highest point, to the highest place you can find, and jump down and plummet to your death, because you cannot live without your emperor. And you know, the death of your emperor means the death of you as well, right? It's like, if your emperor never supposed that idea in your head, right? If your emperor never required this of you, you wouldn't really, you would not have done that. You wouldn't have done that, right? Okay, well, here's something. Here's a little brighter example. Maybe here's a better example. Yeah, you know, all these terrible examples. Here's a brighter example. The word, you know, the words, you know, I love you. It's like, it's a very easy thing to say that, and sometimes it doesn't mean all that much, but it depends on the person that says it, how often they says it, how often they says it. Yeah, how often they says it, and why, and why. It's like, why are you saying that? It's like, do you say that every day? Do you say that every day? It's like, I can see a way in which a word may not matter. Say that you say I love you to someone every day of their life, right? And as appreciative as they can be, maybe sometimes it doesn't. It's not going to hold as much weight as it did the first time or the second time, right? We're very ungrateful creatures. And this is not even a criticism. This is a matter of fact. This is like, I think it's not going to be as exciting the hundredth time as it was the first time, right? So like, it's a matter of course. So like, a word may wear down to lose its meaning. I can see that. I can see a word may become overused, you know, like a cool phrase, right? It's like, yeah, I love you, or I never say this to you, you know, but I do. Okay, all right, okay, you know, response. Okay, that means a lot to me, or, you know, okay, you know, that means very little to me, or wow, right? It's like, wow, I'm surprised you said that. What do you actually mean by that, right? It's like, these words matter. Like, it's like, okay, like, clearly words matter, right? Clearly words matter. So I'm trying to, well, in any case, this entire time I've been proving how words matter. So well, I think that's easier. That's easier to do. But in every context where I try to think of how a word doesn't matter, it's like, of course I can do like research on this and such, but like, you know, maybe like, what do I know? What do I know? Like, what is the extent of my knowledge? Like, what is? It's like, you know, I fancy myself, you know, a well put together fellow. You know, at the very least, or at least I fancy ideas, and that makes me feel smarter than I actually am. and so, do I know the answer to this? Like, is there a way that I can prove a word doesn't matter? Like a way in which I can't hit like a backup save, or like, you know, like a backup window. It's like actually teleports behind you, counterpoint. This actually isn't true. It's like, in what context? Okay, there's contexts in which words don't matter, but I think what makes this statement so wrong is because it's a generalization, right? I don't. It's a generalization, right? You can't say words don't matter, because there's instances, like, even if you think that's true for the most part, even if it was true for the most part, there's instances where that's just not right. Right? I remember this show in Shogun. Yeah, I remember this recent show. It's really good. It's so good, man. That show is so good, bro. It's so good. You know, Shogun, right? Shogun. You know, there's that episode. You know, if you've seen the show, there's that episode where this guy, he doesn't even speak Japanese, right? But you know, he says something in Japanese. He says it so foolishly, right? Like he tells these people, because he was like a lord of the house and they were like his servants, right? And he tells them, you know, he brings this dead bird. He hangs up this dead bird, you know, at his house, and it's stinking. You know, these dead birds, and it's like, you know, they're stinking. I think it was one bird. Yeah, I think it was one dead bird. You know, it's stinking for everyone. It's like it's bringing karma, bad omens. It's like, you know, like they believe this is like an evil thing. You can't do this. You can't just leave a dead animal hanging, you know, to accumulate flies and foul odor, right? It's like it's ruining everyone's peace. Like, this is not good. Why would you do this? Like, what the hell? Like, you know, the guy was planning to eat it, I think, right? Like, to make some soup out of it, you know. But you know, it's like you know, it's like it's there hanging on at the hanging down his roof. You know, he tells them, don't touch this bird. If you touch my bird, you die, right? If you touch my bird, you die. If you touch this dead rotting carcass that I will make soup out of, you die, right? And so, like, you know, for him, he's joking, right? Or I don't know, like, I don't quite remember what he even meant by it, right? But he was certainly joking, right? So, like, he is joking, you know, but like these people are wired in such a way that even if, you know, he's a freaking foreigner, what, they're not gonna die for the guy, but like, because he was given, powers were vested in him by the people who put him into that house as a lord, you know, as a lord of the house, that everything he said, the people who serve under him had to do, you know, to the extent that if he said, if you touch this bird, you will die. You know, like, the smelling, rotting bird became so insufferable to the point that someone had to sacrifice themselves to take away the bird. You know, but then they had to kill themselves in the end, because, you know, the guy did say this was the rule. You know, it's like, you know, like, from their point of view, it's like you would think, what kind of person would do that? Like, what kind of straight reasoning person would end their life because someone else said, if you touch this bird, you die? It's like, what kind of well-meaning person, what kind of sound reasoning person would think that? And of course, you would have to be insane, right? But maybe not. Maybe you would have to. It's like, it's either you're insane or you live in such a society where words mean so. Words are life and death, right? And again, maybe you could say those people are insane, but I don't think it's ever that simple. I don't think it's ever that simple. You would only have to put it in a context in which you would understand. You would only have to put it in a context in which, you know, say that, you know, there's someone that you love, and, you know, you say something like, right, I will die before I will give you my life. It's like, if there ever comes a situation where I must die for you, you know, that will be the case, right? That will be so. You know, and maybe someone else may think you're ridiculous, may think you're ridiculous for dying for another person. It's like, this is illogical. This is not scientific. This is like against natural selection. Why are you being so foolish, dying for another person, right? What happened to self-preservation, right? It's like, there's a context in which you can understand it. But you know, yeah, I was just about to say I lost my train of thought, but no, this is quite, yeah, I remember. I'm trying to prove in what way does a word not matter? In what way does a word not? Okay, well, yeah, this is not a. In what way does a word not matter? Yes, like, I don't deny there there's context in which okay, here's one. A word may not matter if, for instance, someone speaks it, but you don't understand the language, right? You don't understand what the hell did they just say. Are they speaking Arabic? Are they speaking Chinese? What the hell did you say? Cantonese, right? Like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, that's not a word. That's not a word my brain recognizes. That might as well be rubbish, right? What the hell, right? What do you mean? What do you mean by that, right? So, okay, there's a way in which a word doesn't matter. But I don't think when someone says they do not believe words matter, I don't think they mean it in that way. I think it's very baffling to me. I don't understand how one can actually really say that. Like, do you mean words don't matter, period? Oh man, I just said period. I'm killing myself. Uh, yeah, like, do you mean, like, what do you mean words don't matter? I don't understand. Like, I'm trying to prove something. It seems to me like, okay, well, it's not impossible, right? I want to avoid generalizations, but like, it seems nearly impossible for me. Perhaps it is impossible for me to even to understand how can one how can a well-meaning person, like a reasonable sound-minded person, like an actually intelligent person, how can they say such a thing as words don't matter? How? What is the reasoning behind that? Like, I don't. It's like it's evident that there's something I don't understand here. Right? There's something I don't understand here. How is it ever so? How is it definitively so that words don't matter? What, right? It's like all I can think of is examples in which they do, and the examples which they don't are very they're very circumstantial, right? Like, okay, it's like, okay, oh, so all right, yeah, in this context I don't know what the hell you're saying. You just spoke a different language, so that word doesn't matter to me. Or, I've never heard of this word, you just made up this new word. Okay, all right, okay, how about words don't matter, but it is that it is the people who use words that give them meaning, right? Yeah, okay, so like in that way, words don't matter. It's like, okay, yeah, I believe, it's like, yeah, words are simply things that we use to get our points across, to communicate. Words are are a means of communication. You know, they don't matter, they're just a means of communication. But like as you can see, that's a contradiction, right? It's like, how can you say a word doesn't matter? You know, words don't matter if they are a means of communication. How can you say that, right? It's like, you can't. Well, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. It's like, I can agree that words are inherently as empty as the universe was when it first formed, right? Like, as meaningless as much of everything was in the universe before it was given a name, right? Like an apple, and the word apple meant nothing until you subscribed it to a certain fruit that was red, right? And so on and so forth. In lion doesn't mean anything, but you know, it's like a newborn baby. It's like, what's your name? You don't have a name. Well, I'll name you Lion. You know, there you go. Your name is Lion, right? It's like, of course, lion can mean very, very many things. It's like, maybe there's a world in which lion isn't actually the name of an actual animal. Lion is like the name of, maybe it's like, there's a world where lion is actually not, it means something entirely different. That's an irrelevant sidetrack, but It's like words, what makes sense to me is that words mean, a word will mean anything that we want it to mean. Right? It's like a word is empty, but for as long as we have need for words, it's like the only way you can say a word doesn't matter is if you choose, is if you decide that it doesn't. But it's like, of course, if you decide a word doesn't matter, someone else may say that it does, right? So I really can't think of an example. I can't think of a single. I can't think of a single concrete example or explanation that would actually prove words don't matter. It's like words matter to the degree that people are being sent to prison for saying some dumb nonsense on freaking social media, right? Words matter to that extent. It's like you may say words don't matter, or you may live. No one, I don't think anyone who says words don't matter lives that way. Like, you don't even live that way, right? But it's like not even on an emotional level, just like on a technical level, as in, I'm hungry, I want to go to McDonald's. I go to McDonald's, I order a Big Mac, right? I talk to the cashier, whoever. I don't go to McDonald's, right? I don't go to McDonald's. Yeah, right. Like you talk to the lady in the window. You say, I want a Big Mac, right? They say, all right, how many Big Macs? You know, you say maybe two Big Macs, 3 Big Macs with a milkshake, whatever, right? It's like the only way I see this working, I think the best example in which this person used the phrase, like the best example in favor of the argument words don't matter, is that say that you say something, say that you're going to do something but you don't, right? Say that you commit to a New Year's resolution. You know, you say you're going to work out, you're going to lose, you're 150. No, that's not bad at all. you're 300 pounds. You're 300 pounds. You know, New Year's resolution. You know, the New Year's resolution is the New Year's coming about, right? You're 300 pounds. You want to lose at least 50 pounds by I don't know, maybe like by mid-June. June 2025, but by July, right? You want to lose a lot of weight. You want to stick to a healthy diet. So New Year's resolution. New Year's resolution. It's like there's instances where it's like, yeah, you say, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna wake up early. I'm going to not scroll on my phone. I'm not gonna doom scroll. The first thing I do in the morning when I wake up, I'm gonna put myself together. I'm gonna shower. I'm gonna take a shower. I'm gonna eat healthy. I'm gonna go to the gym, right? I'm gonna find a job. I'm gonna find a good job, right? It's like you can say all of that, and maybe you can even write it down, for better measure. But it's like, yeah, New Year's resolution. I'm going to turn my life around. 6 months later, you're exactly in the same place you were before, if not even worse off. So yeah, like in that context, it's like, yeah, all that good shit you were talking about, all that hyping up you were doing, like none of that mattered. In the end, you're a bum, you're a sore loser, you didn't get anywhere. You're exactly in the same place you were before, if not even worse, right? Maybe you did a little better, but you never lived up to your expectations. Well, anyway, whoever really lives up to their own expectations? But it's like, okay, you said something and you didn't live up to it. Those words didn't matter. Those words didn't matter, right? I think that's the best case scenario in which you can say that words don't matter, right? It's like in that context I can understand. But what if you say those things? What if you set up some really high New Year's resolutions, right? Like, and you actually meet them. Did those words not matter? Well, perhaps you could say you didn't have to. if you make a resolution and you actually meet the expectation, and you actually meet the expectation, it didn't matter whether you said you were going to do it or not, as long as you did it. It's like, so okay, maybe we're getting somewhere here, right? Maybe we're getting somewhere here. We're actually getting somewhere, right? It's like the argument that a word doesn't matter, words don't matter, is that you don't have to speak if you can, if you can do something. If a thing can be carried out through an action, one doesn't need to use words. Words are meaningless without action. Okay, this is an entirely different topic. To be honest, I'm not even gonna, right? is that true? Is that true? Words are meaningless without action. This sounds pretty sound, right? It's like it sounds agreeable. It sounds like a very agreeable statement. Words are meaningless without action. So, or maybe it's like, okay. With this example, all right, it's like words don't matter because I would rather take action than speak action, right? Okay, so I think this is a very fine basis, and okay, there we go. We've come to somewhere coherent, right? This is a very fine basis. It's like words don't matter because I would rather act than speak, and it is better that I act than speak, because if I can act without speaking, I might as well not even the speech part might as well not have happened. So okay, I think this is true. This is a good example of words not mattering, right? Because this is a good example. This is a good example. This is a very good example. But how about a counter to that? How about a counter? This is actually the best example I can think of. It's like, if only I thought about it sooner. But in any case, here's the counter though. Here's the counter to that, right? It's like, is it that words don't matter because actions speak louder, or is it again simply that words speak louder than words? Is this a matter of actions speak louder than words, or is it a matter of there's no use for language if all we had to do is act and maybe grunt, right? Like you don't even have to grunt. It's like, can everything be carried out through action? Right? Is it possible that if you were to eliminate human language, human capacity for words, everything would be better carried out through action? Well, as you can see, the fact that we have pets and we don't understand them, and pets, all they can do is freaking bark. I mean, even dogs have their own languages, like, right? Like, to a certain extent, you can understand a dog when it's freaking barking, right? The language of dogs is barking. Something is either going wrong, or like something exciting is going on. But like, if a freaking dog is barking and growling, it's like the language there is something's not right. Something's not right. So what? I may be missing something here in this idea also. It's the best example I can think of in which words don't matter, but only in the event that actions would speak louder. Actions would be better off. It's like the same thing in storytelling. Show, don't tell. Show, don't tell. Right? It's like, what if? It's like the best thing you can do in a story, in the process of writing a story, is that show as much as possible. But it's not necessarily that. It's not exactly so that telling is never a good thing, right? Like sometimes you want to show for the most part, but sometimes telling is actually better than showing, right? It's like you may show someone something and they don't understand, and maybe if you simply told them, they would understand it 10 times faster than if you'd showed them, because maybe the action itself, the action, it's like the showing, I think words are like a lazier form of action, or rather it's like do I want to, it's like there's a certain degree to which you can't act out everything, right? It's like, yeah, obviously, right? Like it's like this guy, he will show you how to build a spaceship, and then he will tell you to build a spaceship, or he will grunt at you, now you build a spaceship, right? It's like, man, if only there was an instruction manual, because like, first of all, I'm not gonna remember all that shit, right? Like, what the hell? Like, what? How do you expect me to, like, what? You show me maybe like a videotape, right? Well, like, imagine you live in a world where there's no video. No, sure. Here you go, have the luxury of a video, right? Here's the luxury of a video. Okay, it's like you record the guy. It's like, would you be able to recreate the same spaceship if? It's like, yeah, of course. I suppose so. But even if that is true, even if that is true, like if you could eliminate language and you can learn solely based off of observing, it's like, I think there's something lost, because maybe this guy who you copied, whose homework you copied, actually knows how to do the numbers, but like in order for you to understand how to do those numbers, they would have to explain it to you with words, right? So is it that words don't matter because actions are better off, or is it that simply that actions speak louder, but in the end you can't accomplish communication with simply one mode of expression, right? Actions, you can't. So in the end, I think, to the extent that I can prove it, that I can argue for the opposite side, in the end, it seems to me that it's very difficult to defend a generalization, right? It's just like constant. It's a constant poking of holes, right? It's like, yeah, good luck, buddy, man. You believe you uphold a generalization, have all these people poke holes in it, right? Good luck defending all of that. What a freaking chore, right? Like, this is, in any case, this wasn't all bad. I was to give up some 10 minutes ago, but I had an idea, and I dragged it out a little bit more. But in the end, yeah, man, it's a bloody generalization.